So I would consider myself a Postal fan. So I have about 18 hours in Postal 1, 53 hours in Postal Redux, and 628 hours in Postal 2. And those are like the OG Postal games. Those are like the original 3 that were really, really good. So I want to preface this Postal 4 review with that I absolutely love Postal 2. The original Postal is also a very, very good game. I love these games. I think Postal 2 is absolutely worth your money and time. I think Postal 2 Paradise Lost is absolutely worth your money and time. I think Postal 1 is absolutely worth your hard drive space and time. I think Postal Redux is absolutely worth your money and time. Hell, I even think Postal Brain Damage is worth your money and time. That was a fun game. I don't think Postal 4 is worth anyone's money in any amount, let alone your time. So I want you to understand that as a Postal fan, this game broke my heart. This game broke my heart into a million tiny little glass shards and then swept it away into a dustpan. Steam says I spent about 60 hours on Postal 4, and that is probably accumulated over the multiple times throughout history that I've tried to play and complete this, and I just dropped it. I think the first thing to tackle is the bugs. I think that's the first most glaring problem with this game. The bugs are fucking atrocious. For example, rigging the race on Thursday, that's an errand. It can be made much, much easier by just saving and loading to get your weapons back, and then shooting the other racers, and then waiting for the red racer to finish.
I'm back. Thanks, Jesus.
Damn! Stick a fork in the blue racer. I'm not a doctor, but the yellow racer's definitely dead, Jim. Buy me a heart because the green racer is scooting to the heavens.
We will find this duplicity. Come on now, don't you say?
I can't believe it! The red racer's leading the pack.
God can save.
Do you believe in miracles? There's no time for losers because the red scooter is victorious.
What can I say? I'm not a gambling man, but you might say I had a real hunch about...
And another one bites the dust.
That is literally what I did to finish that errand because I was so sick of this game. Another bug. On Coney Island on Wednesday, there's an errand where you have to sabotage the island, and you need to sabotage these power boxes. And for me, the errand hints just didn't work. The power box icons just didn't become visible for me until I restarted the game, which left me utterly clueless as to where the power boxes could have even been, of which the fact that there needs to be markers to show you where the power boxes are is a game design problem. If you need big yellow paint, big yellow tape, big yellow arrows, red arrows just flashing fucking neon signs to show you where you're supposed to go, that's not really that fun. Postal 2 does not ever necessarily do that. Now, I'm not saying Postal 2 has genius, utterly genius mission design. A lot of it is very linear and kind of basic FPS hallway shooter design, especially in a lot of missions like the Meat World mission. But the fact that there just needs to be big markers instead of environmental exploration. Postal is all about environmental exploration. If you take your time and you explore Paradise in Postal 2, you can find just plenty of secrets, just plenty of good shit. You explore people's houses, you climb up on top of power lines, you climb up on top of people's houses, you climb up on top of tunnels leading to other places. You'll just find good shit all over the place. And they even knew this in Paradise Lost, because in Paradise Lost you could find shit like nukes just up on the top of like bridges that you have to climb on power lines to get to. You could find crack pipes in Postal 2 on Monday, right outside the Lucky Ganesh by just climbing some power lines. And if you jump behind one of the buildings, you can go and find just a wealth of cats which you can use as silencers for your guns. I remember on Coney Island too, you could just abuse the saving and loading, because whenever you turn off a power box on Coney Island, an entire crowd is supposed to get angry at you and start trying to kill you. And if you save and load your game, they just become docile and they forget about you.
That's the first power box down, but there's plenty more to go.
Aw, I wanted to be reincarnated as a butterfly. Geck.
And it's just such a lack of polish. Even one of the bugs, which I don't have footage of, was outright detrimental to my playthrough. The cat mission on Tuesday, it can break and have you stuck as a cat after it ends, like a half cat human hybrid, and you can't use your weapons and you can't urinate. You can also just get stuck inside the store you have to get the milk from. And at one point, I loaded a save because I died, and the dog boss, which you have to kill to complete the errand, he just didn't spawn, and I was soft-locked, and then I had to load an even older save. It's these little things, just these signs of just a lack of polish, and that running with scissors did not give a shit. It hurts the game. It really does. And even the game itself, even if it wasn't buggy, it would be still god fucking awful, just a complete slog. Actually, the game would probably be worse because I couldn't abuse all the positive bugs to get the game over with faster. And so, paradoxically, if the game wasn't as buggy as it is, it would actually be fucking worse, because it would be an even longer slog than it already is. And it's a pretty miserable, long fucking slog from mission to mission, just begging for it to end. Because Eden Sin, its biggest flaw, and it's been like this since the game was in early access. It's always been like this. It's huge. It is fucking massive. But there's nothing in it. There's hardly any secrets that I could find. There's nothing interesting or funny going on in the environment. The Postal dude is still balanced around Postal 2's small but kind of large hub world environments. And while he can sprint, it's not nearly fast enough to be able to get through the world like you could in Postal 2. And even the developers know this. At one point they added in mobility scooters to the game, and that's the only vehicle. And it's also slow as fuck. And paradoxically, through the addition of these mobility scooters, and the fact that Eden Sin is already way too large and not full of anything interesting to want to actually stop for, and the fact that you can just lose your mobility scooter if you go through a load zone or whatever, it promotes you to just commute from one errand to another without stopping and taking in the environment and, for example, looking at a house and going, I wonder if there's anything in there. And then, you find a shotgun or a sniper rifle hidden somewhere. Postal 2 has tons of that. You can go from errand to errand in Postal 2 without investigating anything, and you can beat the game in an hour. Postal 2 is actually not that long of a game. Most of it is spent exploring for secrets because, goddammit, it's fun. But Eden Sin has none of this. It doesn't have many secrets for you to find, I don't think. I couldn't find any, and I play the shit out of Postal 2, so you might think in a Postal 2 clone I would know where to look for secrets. I know how to keep the dude on a crack bender throughout the whole fucking week without hardly ever even paying his goddamn dealer. That is how experienced I am with Postal 2. I know where shit is, dude. So, the game design is subpar. It's a buggy piece of shit. How's the writing? Well, the writing is painfully unfunny. It's, for a game that was made in the 2020s, it's horribly irrelevant. And I want to preface my criticisms of the writing because Postal has always criticized politics. Since Postal 2, it has criticized politics and aim to offend people. I think Postal 4 could have criticized either sides of the American political spectrum. It could have criticized how COVID was handled, how the vaccines were rushed, President Biden's general, just kind of embarrassment whenever he would show up to public speeches. It could have criticized Donald Trump probably flipping his shit and just speaking fucking nonsense on his Twitter page or Truth Media, whatever it was at the time of this game's release. It could have criticized January 6th. And I'm trying to be even here, and I'm trying to look at things that happened in 2022 because I'll be frank with you, my memory is fuzzy. And I understand that Postal 4, the way that it was developed, they added days incrementally. It wasn't all developed all at once, and it wasn't all written all at once. But still, the development of this game took place from 2019 to 2022. And so, while I'm probably missing things, and I really am trying to be even on both sides of the American political spectrum here on what they could have criticized, because I think Postal would be great at criticizing just the ridiculousness of American politics altogether, it chooses not to, in my eyes. I believe it chooses to resort to merely, poop and piss jokes and stereotypes. I think the most political it really gets is it kind of jokes about illegal immigration from Mexico to the United States. There's one mission where you use a voting machine and it only votes for one side and glitches out because it's electronic voting. The game does make mention of COVID-19, but it's through just mere mention over a loudspeaker, and then it's quickly forgotten about. Maybe it's brought up in a couple of cutscenes at the beginning of the day, and it's the Pajona virus.
Attention, please. This is the Edenson Emergency Broadcast System. Please stand by for a pre-recorded important announcement.
Good morning, fellow citizens. My name is Cornelius Munchenmuff, and as the press secretary for the mayor's office, it is my duty to inform you that we have confirmed at least 50 cases of the deadly Pajona virus here in Edenson. While we cannot yet confirm who is responsible for bringing this devastating virus to our community, our ongoing internal investigation suggests that this outbreak is a direct result of the mishandling of caged pigeons that have somehow been dispersed around our lovely town. Therefore, we are hereby declaring a state of emergency effective immediately. Mr. Munchenmuff, as a society, it is everyone's responsibility to help flatten the curve and reduce the number of painful and certain deaths. As such, we strongly advise adopting the following health guidelines provided by National Avian expert Dr. Ouchie. Avoid pigeons at all costs. Stay away from crowded spaces. Wash your hands frequently and masturbate with them as little as possible. If you absolutely must diddle your doohickey, consider using a marital aid and be sure to wear a mask. I'm afraid that's all the information we have at this time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm late for a flight to Cancun. Thank you. Mr. Mayor, really like Mr. Munchenmuff.
This concludes the message from the Edenson Emergency Broadcast System. Oh my God, I hate this job. These people are idiots.
Instead of the coronavirus or COVID-19, that's it. It's a mere mention, and it's sidestepped too. It's not even a direct mention. At one point, somewhere in the environment, there's a house and outside that house it has all this kind of pro Donald Trump and pro-Republican and pro-America stuff outside of it. And then when you venture inside, it has all these Soviet flags. I think there's an amalgamation of a Canadian flag and a Soviet flag. And it's just not very topical. Like, okay, for example, the Soviet joke, that would have been funny in like 1970 or like 1989 or something like that. Like 1987. That's where I'd place that joke at being funny at. 1987. There's this one mission in the game on Tuesday where you have to spray paint all these graffiti markings of this Hispanic gang past the Mexican border. And the twist for that mission is that you're attacked by snowflakes who are bothered by your ruining of Hispanic culture, whatever they say in the cutscene.
Going on over there? Do my eyes deceive me? Is that white male culturally misappropriating the techniques of this land's beautiful indigenous minorities? Get those triggered fingers ready, guys, gals, and others. We've got ourselves a transgressor to cancel permanently.
It is like 2014 triggered feminist humor. Like, this shit hasn't been funny for years. It's just so dated. It's so dated. Oh, and at the end of the game, it just magically resolves itself. The original goal of the Postal dude is to find his trailer, so he starts working for people, which I guess that kind of makes sense. I don't know. But at the end of the game, he just decides to leave Edenson and forgets about his trailer, and then, oh, right there it is, his trailer at a dealership, being run by the mysterious shady guy who's been following him all week. Huh, that sure is just one hell of a coincidence. It's almost like it's contrived. And I understand that the writing and the logic of a Postal game, it's not its strong suit. It never has been. But, I mean, I don't remember there ever being anything quite that ridiculous in any other Postal game where it all just magically resolves itself. I mean, at the end of Postal 2, the dude shoots himself because he gets sick of his bitch wife constantly nagging him for errands. That makes sense. In Paradise Lost, he just leaves. He can either choose to leave or kill everyone and become the king of paradise. Or, and this is probably my weakest example, in Apocalypse Weekend, at the end, the dude's trailer just kind of shows up in a big pile up on the bridge. But at the same time, the bitch had control over the dude's trailer, so God knows what she did with it. I don't know. I just don't think it's as contrived as Postal 4, because, hell, the trailer in Apocalypse Weekend isn't even the focus of the dude's goals. The dude's goals are, like, make money, find Champ, go home. And most of the game is spent making money and trying to find Champ, not searching for his trailer. In which Postal 4, the main goal is searching for the dude's trailer, in which that goal is forgotten about throughout the whole story, and then it just kind of shows up at the end like a, oh fuck, wait, we forgot to wrap up the story kind of thing. It's a mess. Finally, I want to get into the details that people never talk about in Postal 4 reviews. Running with Scissors, when this game first released in 1.0, they admitted it wasn't finished. And they knew it wasn't finished, but they advertised it as finished. And early access games already have a terrible, terrible reputation on Steam and in gaming culture. There are dozens upon dozens upon dozens of early access games that come out in early access and they never get finished, or they're abandoned by their developers once they've decided they made enough money, or they're finished but like they're not really finished. The list goes on how many games are just stuck in early access, were abandoned, or were not truly properly finished. Most of the time the case is just being permanently stuck in early access or just being abandoned. Very rarely does a game actually get finished and it's just not finished. Postal 4 is one of the rare exceptions, at least in my experience, where an early access game actually gets finished, but it's not actually finished. And I think because of that, Postal 4 had a net negative effect on the reputation of early access games. Now, how big that impact was, probably minimal, probably not that big, because not many people talk about this. I think I'm one of the few to have noticed this detail. But I would be willing to bet that there were many people out there waiting for Postal 4 to come out of early access before they even considered buying the game. And at least some of those people did not read your latest news article saying that the game was self-admitted to not be finished. They saw the 1.0 tag and said, oh, finally, this game I'm waiting for is done. Let me buy it, finally, and play it. I'm so excited to play the new Postal now that it's actually done. There's all 5 days. And I think Running with Scissors knew this too, because they self-admitted whenever they released the game out of early access that they were low on budget and they needed the attention from a 1.0 release and the increased sales from a 1.0 release to further fund actually finishing the game. Quote, here we are, we're not even close to really being done, but let's slap a 1.0 on it update. Yeah, we're coming in hot, but 1.0 is a milestone that will see changes to how we approach things moving forward. Updates will generally be more frequent now, and due to our push for a console release, we'll be bringing in people to help us that actually know what they are doing when it comes to making an open world on Unreal Engine 4 perform well. But why? You are no doubt wondering, would we willingly come out of early access when we know it needs more time in the oven? It's a fair question, and here's the honest answer. We originally went into early access to raise the funds to finish the game without a publisher. We're as indie as you get in that regard, 100% self-funded, and every dime we have gotten through early access has gone directly into the development of Postal 4. We expanded the team, increased the scope of the project, and things got out of control, creating bigger and more stuff. Altogether, too much to do in the time we had. We're all Postal fans ourselves, and therefore got carried away adding new features. Even the act of adding all the voice options for the Postal dude was a bigger undertaking than we expected. So now we're leaving early access to help raise more funds to put the finishing touches on the game, see our vision through, and get it onto console. Unquote. That is not how you develop a game. You do not let your scope expand and expand and expand and then go, fuck, we used all our budget. Well, I guess let's just push an unfinished product onto unsuspecting consumers so that we can make our money. That's not pro-consumer. That is not pro-consumer. That is not pro-consumer. That is anti-consumer. That is fucking with people's expectations of a finished product. And I think that is disgusting. From a consumer standpoint, that is disgusting. That is utterly disgusting. That is unacceptable. That is an abuse of the Steam early access system and the 1.0 label. That is an abuse of those two systems and those labels. Because your game was not finished, but it's advertised as finished. That is disgusting. That is utterly disgusting to me, and I don't know why more people don't mention that. So Postal 4 had a net negative on the reputation of early access games because of the state that it came out in 2022. And I also want you to understand that some Running with Scissors employees have defended this before by stating that Postal 2 was not complete on release either. And while that might be true, and Postal 2 did have poor performance on day one, I don't think it was nearly as bad as Postal 4 was. And at that, I feel like as a game developer, if you make games and then you patch them to completion, like Postal 2 was, where Postal 2 was patched up over the years to run better, play better, have different weapons, gameplay mechanics over the years from like 2013 to like now. I feel like if you release a new game in that same series, just a new game probably at all, it should be up to that previously patched game's standards, at least somewhat comparable to where you can say, yeah, this game is comparable to the patched version of our previous game. I believe that is how you should make your games, that the previous like final patch for that game sets a standard for your next game, and that is how finished your next game should be. And I think the fact that Running with Scissors tries to use the completeness of Postal 2 back in 2003 as an excuse as to why Postal 4 should be acceptable, when Postal 4 abused Steam's early access systems, abused the 1.0 and full release tags, and at the same time was not up to the standard that the people who played Postal 2 had been accustomed to. I think that shows that Running with Scissors hasn't learnt their lesson from the original release of Postal 2, and that's really bad. Postal 4 broke my heart, and it disgusted me in ways that I did not think I could necessarily be disgusted in. And I do not think it is worth your time. I do not think it is worth your money. Even if it was free, I feel like you'd regret playing it. And I think instead you should go play Postal 1, or Postal Redux, or Postal 2, or Paradise Lost, or Postal Brain Damaged, any of those games. And frankly, with how disastrously Postal 4 was handled, I don't know if you should trust Flesh and Wire. I don't know if you should trust that new game, Flesh and Wire. I don't know if you should. I cannot confidently trust Flesh and Wire to be a quality product from this company that has abused its consumers by falsely labeling their products as finished, and just publicly, knowingly doing it without any shame. I cannot trust Flesh and Wire after Postal 4. It was that bad. It was that horribly mismanaged. And while there are a dozen other assumptions and theories I can make as to why Postal 4 was such a disaster when Postal 2 was not as big of a disaster, and I have done my best to investigate and at least try to figure out some sort of semblance of a story as to why Postal 2 was not nearly as bad as Postal 4, I am going to spare you of those ramblings because I don't think they're necessary for this. Postal 4 is not worth your time. It is not worth your money. I think you'd regret playing it, even if it was free. Thank you.